Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the weekly show with me, Scary, your grateful host. This is the weekly show that I do for all of you, the patrons, where we talk about Warhammer, we talk about stuff that's going on, and then we go into the list crunch. I answer patron questions and stuff like that. So welcome, thanks a lot for coming to hang out. This is episode 33. It's the second to last episode of the season. It's exciting. My voice is a little chuffed because I went to an Offspring concert, and that was insane and amazing. So I'm going to try and keep hydrated. And, I've got so much work in the next week or so. This is going to be insane. The WTC, the World Team Championship of Warhammer, is coming up next week. And I fly out on Sunday. Get there Monday. And then I start working. And by working, I mean I start playing basically the entire time. So starting on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, I've got the War Masters Challenge. It's just 6 rounds at least, three rounds per day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then if you make like the top, you play the finals on the Tuesday morning. I think there's a shadow round, maybe even. Ugh, shadow rounds. After being at the shadow round in at Tacoma, I'm like, oh, it's just so tiring. And then we've got the WTC proper coming up on the Thursday evening. There's one game, and then 3 days of 2 games per day. It's like a marathon of playing Warhammer, and it is absolutely insane. I'm very, very, for one, very excited about it. Very excited about it. I can't wait. I've got a little bit of things to do. I put out the army, basically. I have to just make sure I have all the right models. Well, not the right models, like I have the right models. I need to pull the arm off of one of my Reaver jet bikes and put that on. And then I have to and put like a little whip on it, like an agonizer, and then I have to make sure I have 4 more haywire blasters. So that's like kind of what my project is going to be doing and stuff like that as well. And then this week I basically have, so this week coming up, I'm going to be doing a lot of games, practice games, test games. So for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be insanely busy with WTC. I'm going to try and get a battle report filmed to make sure it goes up basically on the Friday, like not this Friday, like today, because not today, but next Friday. So it goes up basically before I head out. There'll be one more battle report, and then I'll be at WTC, and then when I get back, I guess I'll try and film another one. But that'll be, so that'll be sort of like all the stuff that's happening or whatever. I can't believe it's end of July. Time absolutely flies nowadays. It is insane how fast time goes. But I hope you're all having a good time. Like, it's been a wild ride this year. It's been crazy, and but in a good way. And I've got dad stuff to do, being a dad, and Ollie's now 13, going on 14. It's crazy how much of an attitude shift it is when somebody becomes a teenager. Love that kid to bits, though. Tomorrow, I'm running a fundraising RTT, so a little Rogue Trader tournament for the Canadian national team. So I'll be running a tournament tomorrow. There's gonna be 12 to 16 people or so, which will be really cool. Every single person that attends is getting a little like official Team Canada objective marker, and I have a bunch of dice that I'm giving away as well, like Team Canada dice. Had a few people sort of reach out to me about getting some dice for that as well, if for supporting the team. Right now, I think the expenses of an entire team to go to the WTC is about, at least our team, with uniforms, dice, entry fee, hotels, not including flights, is like 12,000 Canadian dollars. And so getting any help we can to like cover a lot of those like straight up costs. Because as it stands right now, the budget has kind of covered most things. Like this is like sponsorships from people. There's like the Patreon page for Team Canada, which is like the money goes directly to the team. But we've got about, like, we still have to pay out of pocket our flights and like an extra 600 to 700 US dollars each in order to like make up for the cost of everything, which means that oh my gosh, any little bit is super, super helpful as well. Which is kind of how that works. Other than that, it's just good. It's a good time, you know. I'm having a good one. Let's see, go here. There we go. I don't know what's going on with this, but yeah. So, like, I'm really excited. I'm going to go over all these questions, and then we're going to go over and do all of the list crunch stuff, because list crunch is super fun when it gets done, and I'm excited about that as well. Just making sure. Don't know why this didn't post earlier, but going to make sure this is ready to go. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. There we go. Done and done. Always love this stuff, so. I really enjoyed, so like this past weekend, let's kind of go through it. Like this past weekend, I ended up going to the Tacoma Open. Hey Alex, what's going on? Good morning. And Tacoma is the largest Games Workshop event, singles event that they run. There were 450, like 455 people signed up, but 451 people that actually started playing games. So when I say 450, it was like 451 players. I ended up placing in 5th. I went 8 wins. I did lose my one shadow round game by like the skin of my teeth. It was so close. A 3-point game. It just heartbreaking. Hey, Cheeseball. It was quite literally heartbreaking. But it was, it is one of those things. You kind of put your head down and just get it done as best you can. And it was awesome to meet and greet all the folks there. It was really nice to see familiar faces and, just kind of meet new people and folks that I've known for a while as well. So thanks so much for coming up and saying hello and chatting. And I just really enjoy like the social aspect of a big tournament like that. Is just so much fun for me. Yeah. Good morning, Zinth. What's going on? Working my birthday. Well, happy birthday, Zinth. Happy birthday to you. Just imagine me popping out of a cake for you. Happy birthday to you. But it is a great time. Thank you so much to everybody who's been boosting the server. We on Discord. All these server boosts have gotten us some really cool perks, which is really neat. So that's awesome. So thank you. Makes our server look really, really fancy schmancy, which is exciting. Okay. So I guess it's a community build thing, you know what I mean? Like you build it with community. Oh my gosh, my neck is killing me. Well, like I've rambled on for about 10 minutes. It's about right. 10 to 15 minutes of scary rambling is about right. Hello, Foz. Hello, Dragon Z. What's going on? Good morning. Good morning. So the first part of the weekly show, of course, is going through all the questions, the Q&A. If you're in chat, make sure you pop something into chat. And then we can kind of go through stuff. The way that you get involved in this is by being a supporting patron and by posting a question in the thread that I open up, usually Mondays or Tuesdays. I think this week it was Wednesday because I was really tired and forgot. But it is in its own little thread on the Discord. So that's, if you're not in the Discord, make sure you get involved in the Discord and post a question. There's also the list crunch, which if you're a Scourge, Trueborn, or Incubi, you can post a list every week. And I'll read it and give you my thoughts whenever I do the show, of course. Now, there is this show and one more show for the end of the season. Season 3 will be done. So next week will be the last show of the season. I go to WTC. Then I take a week off after WTC. Then we get started again. And it'll be season 4 of the weekly show. Season 4, baby. And that's, can't believe it'll be half a decade of me running the weekly show. Crazy. Charles, good morning. Looking forward to all this post-Tacoma goodness. I know, post-Tacoma goodness. Like, I guess Knights were a big deal. Death Guard were a big deal. Tyranids were a big deal. You know, the average, what you would expect, became a thing. I will say though that I was very happy to have played against 9 completely different factions. I was talking about that all weekend. I was like, I haven't played a repeat faction. This feels awesome. Just having played against 9 different factions at an event of that size without having to repeat against a single faction felt fantastic. It felt great. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into what you folks have come here just to talk about. Not me rambling. Questions. Also, my hair is an absolute mess. Look at that hair. That hair is a mess. Heaven's Teeth says, "Hey, Scary." Hello, Heaven's Teeth. Absolutely amazing job on the weekend. Thank you. I came in 5th at Tacoma, which was awesome. I love the stream game. Yeah, I was on stream for my round 4. It was on the GW stream. It was a little choppy, I heard, but hopefully they conglomerated it into a single nice long video. Especially the Plaguebearer Jail versus Beastpack Jail. Can you give a brief rundown of popular faction jail units and what separates this from just a standard first turn charge move? Or are they just one and the same, just some units are better at it than others? Okay, that's a great question. So, there are a couple of armies. I think the original jail was Thunderwolf Jail. And that was mainly because of the speed. Like, a jail, the list that comes like to mind when you're talking about like jail lists is mainly determined by speed. The ability to move so quickly that you can basically get right up to your opponent and then once you, the first wave is essentially a wave of putting them in their zone and not letting them sort of like play the game. And then the secondary and tertiary waves after that sort of continue to just like make them stay back. And so you can basically surround and isolate and not let them sort of play the game. And even though the dynamic can be found in a variety of, sorry, I do apologize that I'm yawning. My apologies. I am very tired. very tired. I don't mean to seem like I'm bored, if that makes sense. I'm just like my eyes, I'm exhausted. I could probably take a nap. I have a long day today. And it's my body's sort of like slowly getting back into the fact that I was I was getting stuff done. So I do apologize if I come across as I'm like yawning, because I am, but it has nothing to do with lack of interest. Um, so there are many armies that kind of do the jail thing. However, in style, it tends to be speed that has to be like the first wave. But you can do it in other ways. It's just some other ways not necessarily the most effective. But like if you're playing in like you can play a jail list with Gene Stealer Cult, for example, where you use like the bike units and things like Gene Stealers to like sort of pseudo jail your opponent. Death Guard can kind of do a little bit of jail. But the thing is, like, you can do an initial jail with like Poxwalkers, right, where you infiltrate Poxwalkers and move Poxwalkers in and stop your opponent from moving out, which works, as well. Um, but I think, hey, Michael, buddy, what's going on? But the true jail comes from being able to sort of pin your opponent, right, and then continue to pin your opponent. So like there's like a first turn jail style list where you can kind of go, I'm gonna do first turn and kind of just like jail you in for this first turn, or this true jail where you just pin them in their first turn and then the second turn they're still pinned in and then they're still pinned in on their third turn and then their fourth turn they might break out of the jail, and then that's like too late because then they don't have enough time to play the game. So I think it has to do with sort of like how long you can keep it up. And a true jail list will keep it up for like 3 turns. I think. At least 3 turns. And will take up like the entire table. Like you won't be able to like deep strike anywhere. Like all the objectives will be pressured. But I hope that answers your question. Heaven's teeth. Moving on, Dr. Nick asks, says, amazing run at the weekend, Scary. Thank you, Dr. Nick. Once again, it was awesome to follow on BCP. 9 games is a lot of games. It is a lot of games in 3 days. How do you approach the challenge mentally to try and stay fresh in game 9? Well, there are a couple of things that I do. Number 1, I focus on one game at a time. And you can ask anybody. They'd be like, only 4 more rounds or whatever, and I'd look at them go, one game at a time. I just focus on the game that is right in front of me. I don't think of the games earlier, and I don't think of the games that are coming still. I just focus on the one game right in front of me. That's like one of the main ways that I get to conserve energy. Right, it's one of my main ones. I make sure that I sleep and eat and stay hydrated. So I sleep, eat, stay hydrated. That's super important. I try to go to bed at a good time, so I'm not like out late, especially because I'm performing. Right, this is like a sporting event for me. I'm not like out partying or whatever. I am getting back to bed and eating food, making sure I try and have fruit, electrolytes. I'm staying hydrated. Got snacks. Have Advil. You know what I mean? And then recently I've been trying to make sure I sit down more and just rest. Like, even if it's like a little bit, just kind of sit down, and just kind of just kind of chill. Like, I used to do a lot of like, I'll walk around and try and go and meet people and talk to folks. But I'm like, I'll sit in one spot, and if people come by to say hi, that's fine. But I just kind of stay in a spot, and I don't like overexert energy. And another thing I do is I have my headset, my my noise canceling headset, and this has been a lifesaver for me, to be honest. Not only do I love it for travel and stuff like that, but I was literally just had like music on, Like, and even if I was walking around the hole, it just helps drown out the noise of the hole. And I just like listening to music. I've got like a playlist that I've started making that I listen to, and I just kind of pump the beats and just kind of like chill out and just listen to music, and that kind of helps me mentally stay fresh. Yeah, and then hey, what's going on, Gentle Gin? Hey, and Charles, trying to sit as much as possible help me in shorter GTs. Those dogs when they start barking. Oh yeah, so sitting down early, especially in the early rounds, helps in the later rounds. And then the last thing is that I find very helpful is I play every game as if it's a game in my basement. Like, I literally play every competitive game with the same attitude as if I was playing a game at my house. In terms of like just it playing by intent and counts at like and just to like take backs and just kind of reminding my opponent of things and stuff. Like I just play every game as if it was just a game with a friend, and that really helps lower the stress level for me at least. Um, you know, um, like I'm not gonna tell my opponent how to beat me if that makes sense. But if they're like trying to like zone out the backboard, I'm like, I'll be like, hey, don't forget I got my mandrakes, and they'll be like, oh shit, yeah, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like just don't forget I have my mandrakes, or don't forget I've got a reactive move, or don't like just I will it'll just be I just make every game like a game I would play with a buddy, which then makes it a lot less stressful for me and for my opponent, and then it saves energy, right? Because being grumpy is actually, or being like stressed, is a lot of energy consumption. And I find that if one is like very chill and calm, it the energy that you can use is like way less, so it lasts longer, right? Um, hey, Scarian, definitely not a cult. Good morning, not a cult. How's it going? We don't have a chant yet. Okay, we could get a chant going. We'd all have to dress in like white cotton robes, and I guess we I guess that if I become tax exempt, then we could be a cult. Speaking of reactive moves, Beast Slayer, Wolfen are Trixie. Yeah. hmm Yeah, when I played Forest, so Forest, one of the number one Space Wolf player, like my first round at Tacoma was against Forest, who ended up going to get Battle Master, but it was like the number one Space Wolf player in the ITC or number two Space Wolf player. I don't know, like I didn't check, but he's like up there, and he was playing Beast Slayer, and it was a very interesting game because I like tried to bait out his reactive moves so many times. I was like, I'm gonna move this. Will you reactive move? And he's like, no. I was like, I'm gonna move this. Will you reactive move? He's like, no. I'm like, It's very fun. Our original uniform were Baby Shark costumes. Yeah, that's right. Speaking of, yeah. How do you know who will be facing in tournaments? What is the difference between big and small tournaments in that regard? Well, Cheese Bowl, um, you just look at the app and it tells you who you're facing. So BCP just has the pairings, kind of like the league that we're running. It's just for a big tournament. And that's something that I do to not waste energy is I don't worry about the lists that people are bringing. Like some people, I don't know how people do it, but they'll go through like every list. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, John Lennon is at the event. What are they running? Oh no. Oh my gosh, this list. Oh my gosh, this list, this meta list. Oh no, there's like 10,000 knights." You know, I don't do that at all. I didn't take a look at a single list at Tacoma, like before the event. I don't give a flying fudge. Nothing. I don't care. I literally do not waste my time. The odds of me playing any one list is 1 in 450. All right. I'm not wasting my time. So I will take a look at the list. When I get my pairing, I'll be like, oh, look, I'm playing Bob. Ooh, Bob's playing Death Guard. boop, and I click on his list, and he goes, okay, so it's hammer, and then I know what the meta hammer list looks like, or the meta virulent vectorum list looks like, and so then I'll go through it, and I'll be like, okay, so unlike the meta list, he's kind of switched this out, and he's got this little thing, and he kind of went for the third Plague Risk Crawler instead of 2 Plague Risk Crawlers. Okay, so he's got less other units and pieces. Okay, I know what I'm playing against, right? And what's the mission? Okay, what's the terrain layout? And then I start formulating a plan. But I don't waste energy on looking at people's lists beforehand because I don't know who I'm going to play against. And I don't care. I'm just going to play against the person right in front of me. Well, I hope that answers your question, Cheeseable. Charles says, dressing in white cotton robes in the U.S. South wouldn't exactly work for down here. No? Well, oh, that's true. You definitely wouldn't want that. Yeah. I was thinking monotonous. Like, I don't know, we like hippie clothes. Like, as a cult, how would we dress? Maybe we could, like, we'd all have a little hat with like a little Dark Eldar like bunny ear things that look like little spears or like little blades. Or maybe our like culty thing is like having a little wristband that's like a little stabby wristband. Stabby, stabby, stabby. I'm all for suggestions over here. Okay. That's a great question though. Chaos Drifter asks, Scary says, Scary, congrats on the fantastic performance this past week. You're all just blowing smoke up my ass. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It was a really fun time. I'm very proud of my performance. I should, after this week, go close to the top 10 in the ITC, and I still have 4 big events to round out the season, which should help pad my score as I try to get that #1 spot. Okay, that's the key. I wanted to ask about your thoughts on the Solitaire in the list. That's a great question. What is your advice on how to use the Solitaire? How do you best take advantage of the flip belt? Would you consider replacing Solitaire with Skyweavers and the Conductor enhancement? Okay, so generic thoughts on the Solitaire. I really liked the Solitaire, surprisingly. Did it do a lot of damage? No. It did not do a lot of damage. Did it usually just run up and die? Yes. Did it force my opponent to play differently? Yes. And I think that's why I liked it the most. Because even though it doesn't really do much, my opponent had to respect it. And in every game, my opponent respected the Solitaire. And so on one case, it was a great opportunity to have a unit that influenced my opponent's way of playing the game. It was also probably the most useful as a screen, which is what I was using the Death Jester for. However, it was a screen that I didn't need to pop out to shoot anything. And it was a screen that I could keep really far away from the action or in a corner somewhere, and at a moment's notice, just yeet it forward and go try kill something. I also really liked the fact that that was another model in my army with precision just built in, which came into play in quite a few games. And in a lot of games, it just made people just be very aware of it. Because I had Urian with precision, I have the Solitaire with precision, Drazar can once per game get precision with his vicious execution, and then I had the stratagem that I could use on either the Archon or Lilith. And all of a sudden, it's like your characters are just not safe. So if you had like key characters, if you had key characters in units, I could have like just gone in and wiped them out to like lower your ability to kind of do things. And yeah, and so the speed was great. So all in all, I really like the Solitaire. As for the flip belt, you just ignore vertical movement, so you don't ignore models. You just ignore vertical movement when you move with the flip belt, which was fine. It just means you could go like straight. Like, it doesn't really affect it too much when you're playing on GW tables, because they're all ruins. Unless you want to go onto like a second floor of a building, or or whatever, go up and around the second floor of a building to go and like punch something behind a building or whatever. But it does really help if they have crates. Like if there's a like in WTC, you've got crates, like the big crate things. It's nice to be able to just go straight through those and not have to worry about like going around them. Anyway, so the flip belt, meh. As for replacing the solitaire with Skyweavers and the conductor enhancement, nah, I wouldn't consider that at all. I do not like the conductor enhancement at all. The biggest issue I've had with my Reaper's Wager army is pain token management. The reroll ones has helped immensely, but I always find that I'm running out of pain tokens. And the last thing I want to do is have an enhancement that encourages me to spend pain tokens. Like, the only way I would use Conductor is by making sure that the Harlequins kill something every, like, fight phase to then flip the wager to Harlequins, so then I can flip it back to Drukhari winning and gain a pain token. That's, like, the only way I would use it, is to try and gain pain tokens, not use them. And then Skyweavers, I would much prefer find 10 points more on the list and take a Void Weaver for the loan up, because I feel like the loan up is way more important than the like Skyweavers. Like the extra fighty is fine and the extra haywire is fine, but Skyweavers are basically another commit, maybe kill something, then die unit, and I don't like that. Makes me sad. Makes me sad inside. Yeah, that's a great question, Chaos Drifter. Thank you for your question. Moving on. No.Nick. I was wondering how you would approach the matchup with GSC. It seems to be the worst match for Drukhari according to StatCheck. That's a great question. Well, I did play Floof. The number one Gene Stealer Cult player on the planet, or after Innis. Well, I don't know. Like, one of them is the number one. I think. Maybe not. I haven't checked. But I basically tabled his list. He had the 80 Neophytes, Gene Stealers, bunch of bikes, all the indirect. So the matchup with GSC was an interesting one. The matchup with GSC was me killing big bricks of infantry, just killing everything. Like, you just have to kill everything and not lose too much. So the key is like keeping your Venoms alive as long as you can, so that you can bounce in and out of your Venoms once or twice, tops, to kill all the big bricks. The Beast Packs basically go in, and as long as you can tie them up in combat, they're usually okay. But you need to get, so like, you have to aggressively go kill them. Or you just get stuck in your deployment zone and then you lose. It is a bloody affair, and you have to try and really push the primary score. And zone out. You have to learn how to screen against Gene Stealer Cult. I was screening all the 6 inches. He could not deep strike in between me or behind me. He had to deep strike in front of me, even with the 6-inch deep strike. And that is probably one of the most important things. And I leveraged my Vectora a lot to force him to use a lot of CP. And you have to kill all the little crap as quickly as possible, and the saboteurs. They're like massively good to kill. You have to try kill them. Get into them and kill them fast. And I was able to do that against Floof. I can't wait to play Raven, Reaper's Wager Drukhari in my next Crusade and steal the Empower Archon, Succubus, and Homunculus with 1 pain token enhancement out of Real Space Raid. Nice. Foz, for cult clothing suggestions, what about a scary cloak of a Mandrake style cloak? Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Like a toga, like a skirt thing. Be like almost like a shadow kilt, Shadow kilt. We can be called the kilt cult. The denizens. Ooh, they wear their shadow kilts. And then we all adopt our name, McMurder. We are the McMurder clan. Is that cultural appropriation? uh, that's funny. Uh, and we all have to learn how to do some close-up fire magic. Yeah, close-up fire magic. We all have like little, like little things that fire up in our hands, or we have like pocket sand. Pocket sand. We just instead of engaging in arguments, we like toss pocket sand into people's faces. Ah, pocket sand. Ah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. But yeah, so no, Nick, like that's kind of like how I would explain it, is you can't let the Gene Steel cults take up the whole table. It is a tough matchup, but I'll tell you the beast packs make it way easier. And grotesques are also a really good use into them. And the fact that my list had so much precision really helped. But it's also something that was very good into Gene Steel Cult was my Hellions. My Hellions were insane in that matchup. They like killed a whole 20-man brick. Lilith wiped out a whole 20-man brick with her unit, plus attached characters, of course. Then I had Drazar and the Solitaire. Drazar, Incubi, and Solitaire kill a whole other 20-man brick. And then the last brick was almost killed again by Lilith and her witches without the super, when she went Super Saiyan. So, all in all, it was a good mix. But it's really about keeping your damage dealers alive and killing all the little crap, the little 5-man units, and forcing your opponent to use all their like resurrection points. Now, if you get a chance to kill things like the little characters, any character, if you get a chance to kill the little vehicles, right? Any vehicle, those don't come back. So killing them is very, very useful because then they don't come back. Yeah, and don't let them bully the primary. Yeah. So you have to sort of make sure that you get onto objectives, stop them from getting on objectives, sticky objectives. Don't let them deep strike onto objectives. You know, that sort of thing. Oh my gosh. But I hope that answers your question, no, Nick. Hopefully I can get a couple more games in with like Dustin to kind of showcase what the like how to kind of play that matchup, you know. Moving on, Foz asks, "Hi Scary." Hello, Foz. I have a number of questions tied to your ITC run. Well, the goal is to be number 1 in the ITC. So thank you so much for your ongoing support, everybody, and encouragement. What has been the most rewarding and or enjoyable part of it? To be honest, it's going to all these events. Being able to go, like the most rewarding part of this has been having the opportunity to travel, to go to these events and meeting all of you. Like meeting folks at events, saying hi, getting to know like faces from names or Discord handles, and just hanging out and being social. Like that's probably been the most rewarding part of it all. And what's been the toughest, stressful part? Well, I have a sponsor, you know, and I have a goal. And the toughest and the most stressful part is putting my money where my mouth is, but I tend to try do that as much as I can. So like my sponsor, the Red Dragon, you know, has been, so Dan from the Red Dragon has literally been amazing. He's been an awesome partner, and you know, he's paying for flights, he's paying for accommodation, he's paying for entry fees for all these events. And so the partnership is one of mutual growth, right? And so I have a goal. I have to perform, you know, go do my thing. Like we know that I don't need to win every single event in order for it to happen. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't like take my foot off the gas. I'm working really hard, right? I'm practicing, I'm keeping logs, I take things seriously. I'm very professional when I'm like out and about. I'm representing his brand, but I'm also making sure that I'm like, you know, I'm keeping fit, keeping healthy, eating food. I'm sleeping well. I'm like making sure I keep in tabs with the meta. I'm also trying to be a very positive person, like on the table and a good brand representative for him and for me. And it's not necessarily stressful, but it's like or necessarily tough, but it's work, right? And I think that's something that is important to note from like a professional relationship like this. So it's not just me going and goofing off and being like, oh, I don't care what happens, right? It's like, yes, I do care what happens, but at the same time, I have to be very careful not to like let that stress change me, right? And I think that's the tough part. It's like understanding that like it's one game at a time, but I'm going to play every game as if it was a game in my basement, right? And that is a standard that I will never change, right? That's like my standard. Yeah. Believe in the me that believes in you, Scary. Thank you, Don Hoosen. I believe in the you that believes in me, that believes in you, that believes in me. So thank you very much. If somebody else wanted to make a push to rise the ITC ranks, what sort of advice would you have for them? Get ready to travel a lot and play lots of games. Yep. Is there anything you know now that you wish you had done earlier this year to help with your run? Are you planning on doing similar campaigns in the future? So the UKTC events are still the best events to go to for an ITC run. So if you truly want to do an ITC push, I would literally try go to every super major in the UK. That would probably be like the cheat code to make a good ITC run, because those events are massive, they're cheap to go to, they're all really close to each other, and if you could afford to go to every single one of those, your ITC run would be meteoric. Even if you aren't necessarily the best player, if you show up to every single one and are consistent-ish, you would do well in the ITC. Like you would, because you just get a ton of points. So had I known that earlier, well, had I known that they were going to reset the season to like everything post WCW, right? So like last WCW. Because now it's from WCW to WCW, which is the World Championships of Warhammer. Happens in October, November, and that's like the golden ticket event. And what they did is after LVO, they announced from now on. So they ended the season at LVO, and they said from now on, we're going to do from WCW. So we're backtracking all your scores to the WCW that happened, and you get to double dip on all the ones. So luckily, I got double Vegas, right? That's pretty cool. I'm going to get the Vegas from last season, this season, and then I get to go to Vegas again and add that to the season as well. So I get 2 Vegases, right? Which is insane. But I would have loved to go to Coventry or Nottingham. It's one of the big UKTC events that happened in like November, like closely after the WCW. And I would have loved to go to that one. It's one of the biggest ones they do, and it would have been really nice to have that on my sheet for the ITC this season. But if I went back, that's kind of what I would do. Other than that, just play lots of games, lots and lots of games. Are you planning on doing a similar campaign in the future? Yes. Now, is it going to be this involved? Probably not. I'm pushing for #1 this season, going to every single thing. And then Dan and I have been talking about sort of like maintaining the sponsorship in the future, but not necessarily as like a let's go for #1, he's going to pay for me to go to every event sort of thing, but doing like more like focused, targeted things, like going to like a Canadian national tour where I go to like a GT in every province, for example, or doing like an overseas thing, maybe go to one in New Zealand or Australia or whatever, and doing like just like a one-off thing, like a little series like that, and just kind of doing, maybe I'll do one where I go to Mexico and do some like in Spanish stuff, or Spain, or I don't know. It's in the future we'll see how that sort of like pans out. The UK is a points piñata. I know. There's so many points. Like, I look at this and go, they got 20th at like another UKTC event. They got twice as many points as any person going to like a regular event, and they get to do that every single month or every like, I don't know, whenever they make these UKTC events. They're so big, so many points up for grabs at these events. It's insane. But I hope that answers your question, Foz. Thank you for the question. Moving on, Brimstone asks, "Hello, Mr. Scary." Hello, Brimstone. "I hope you're having a wonderful day so far." I am. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, had a coaching call already, and then the rest of my day is a bunch of coaching calls. And I have to take my son to a onto a thing. Back up. Okay. Orcs were my first army and still hold a really special place in my heart. I love playing with them. Awesome. That said, I've been thinking more and more about switching armies lately. I've been considering Grey Knights, Imperial Guard, or Custodies. It's tough, though. The idea of moving on from something I enjoy so much isn't easy. I guess my question is, should I switch armies or should I stay green? It's always good to have sort of like a secondary army to play. But if you want to get good, you stay with the same army. Even if it might get a little boring, just stick with it. Like it's nice to have another army to sort of play something different, to give yourself a palate cleanser, but you can do that on TTS. You don't have to buy a whole new army. Now, if you like something and you like the aesthetic of it, go ahead. But my professional opinion is if you want to get better, you stick with the thing that you want to get better at. Just stick with it. And it might take a little bit of time, but eventually it'll just be ingrained in your DNA in a way, you know? Pirate Panda, Joel, what's going on at work? But here to support the Archon and the algorithm. Let's get some likes, people. Thank you very much. Since it is an unlisted video, I appreciate it though. But it's just for you folks today. It's not public. The one next week will be public because it's the last one of the season, so I'll make it public. But this one is for all you lovely folk. Archons for the algorithm gods. You know, Joel, we did decide we're going to have some cult clothing, and we're all going to learn fire magic. Or, you know, those little, we called them brujas, but they're like the little poppers, like firework poppers. They're like little paper popper things. Where you like toss them at the ground, they pop, right? So it'd be really cool to have like, you have to have like a pocket full of them or whatever, and every once in a while you just run up to somebody and pop! Because you throw them at the ground, they like explode. Cherry bombs, is that what they're called? Yeah, is that they're just like little tiny poppers. You just throw them really hard. Pop! Just freak the shit out of people. That'd be so fun. But they're part of our cult identity. That's so funny. Pocket poppers, like pocket sand. Yeah, exactly. So we got pocket sand, pocket poppers. You know, we all dress with like giant mandrake wigs. You know, like big, neat, like, is it like grayish white mandrake wigs with like little skulls tied into them? You know, it could be a ceremonial garb. And then our bowl of Kool-Aid will be just like an empty bowl, and we all get to pretend that it is like the pain and suffering of the world, and then we all like fill little empty cups with the pain of the world with this ceremonial scoop, and then we all go into like a self-induced trance from drinking the pain of the world, and then we all just sit there convulsing, or, you know, in ecstasy for like 20 minutes, and that'll be our religious ceremony. And I can come up with some cool stuff like the pain in the world brings us nourishment. Let everyone's tears bring us joy, or something like that. Oh man. Imagine myself with Super Saiyan hair to emulate a Mandrake. I don't think the world could handle that amount of Don. Just do that LVO, Don. Bring like a giant, like troll hair, but like gold troll hair. Oh, buddy, that'd be so funny. Moving on. Let's focus, folks. We drink the steam that comes off of dry ice. Oh, I like that idea. Yeah, it'd be like transubstantiation, but it'd be like um, the dry ice turning into the pain of the universe. Greetings, Archon of Archons, says Archon Morsan. The 6+ show did a deep dive on your list for WTC. Congratulations on your infamy. Thank you. My list has definitely captivated a few eyebrows, being like, "Oh, Skari actually bought Drukhari." I did actually bring Drukhari this time. If you can find a way to get nourishment from watching the 6 o'clock news, I'll convert in a heartbeat. Nah, the news is too depressing, even for our cult. Games Workshop has a lot of models out of stock and out of print for all variants of Space Elves. What is your advice on those that can't get access to models to build the latest net lists? Convert, source, print, hobby, get creative. Like, that's at the end of the day, Archon Morsan, get creative. Find out what the base sizes are, find out the general shape and size of the model you want to convert, and get creative. You know? Sprue, bits box, skulls, heads, whatever. You know? You could probably come up with some really cool ideas, and just use. So, one of the key things that I will say is a lot of the Dark Eldar kits have a ton of extra weapons, upgrades, bits, little vials, and things that you can just kind of add into conversions to make them Dark Eldar-y and upgrade like weapon conversions. Like the Talos Kronos kit is one of the best kits for conversions, especially if you want to make things like grotesques, or have like liquefier guns on things like grotesques or whatever, because then you could get a ogre unit, a unit of ogres from Age of Sigmar, or rat ogres from Age of Sigmar, or Vargulfs, like the undeady ogre size models from Age of Sigmar, or Bulgrin or Ogrin from the Astra Militarum. There's all these like ogre models, and then you could basically shave their faces off, put like Talos Kronos masks on them, right? Put vials all over them, like an extra like bone spurs that you get from like the Talos and Kronos kit, and then upgrade their weapons to be blades or whatever and a liquefier gun, and you can use that as a grotesque, right? So as an example, there's like ways you can do it, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated. It can be relatively simple kit bash, but the idea there is get creative, right? Ideneth Deep can make fantastic Drukhari. The fantasy Dark Elves are in Cities of Sigmar range. Age of Sigmar Marathi elves obviously work as witches, yep. Or Skaven Rat Ogres make fantastic grotesques. Yeah, the Rat Ogres are fantastic. And they have, like, one of them in the kit of 3 has, like, a little flamer gun, which is literally right there. And then you could just shave off their rat faces and put, like, a grotesque mask on them from, like, the plate mask that they use from, like, the Talos Kronos kit. Because you get, like, 6 extras when you buy that box. Like, that box is fantastic for conversions. It's still one of the older Drukhari range still has a lot of the, we have way too many options for what you get. Like, it's unlike the newer kits where like A, B, and C all go together to make the model, and there's not really a lot of leftover stuff on the sprue. Maybe like little aesthetics things, but most things are like you have tons of options, which is really, really cool. But I hope that helps Archon Morsan as we move in to the next part of the show. That's right, the good old list crunch. So for anybody who's brand new, the list crunch is the segment where Scourge, Trueborn, and Incubi level patrons can submit an army list every time we do the show. I will read the list and give you my thoughts. It doesn't take too long. I'm not going to make the list for you, but I'll give you my thoughts and hopefully give you some ideas to think about when you're developing or building or modifying or refining a list over time. We call it List Crunch because it's like a bowl of crunchy cereal. We call it List Crunch O's. The best brand of cereal to start your competitive diet with. So sit back, put a large portion of delicious milk, and get a big spoon, and let's start diving into it. Michael Buddy says, my Urian is a homunculus with extra rack hands, no pistol, and a haircut. That's right, Michael Buddy. Little square box, right, to be the Casket of Souls or whatever. So you got some stuff. An alternate for Grotesques, Aliens tabletop game. You can get a box of 12 Xenomorphs for $25. 2 full squads of Grots. There you go. And then you could use those, cut them up, use like Dark Eldar bits to bring them into the range. Convert them a little bit. Boom. Turkey done, right? Let's move on to the first list of the show. Gentle Gin. List crunch update time. I've played a league game and 4 other games with the last list I posted, and I've learnt quite a bit. The Neurolictor was not bad, and kept her in reserve to be tunneled for Battleshock Shadow's combo turn was sweet. However, not having fights first means she can't be forward screening the unit I need. There's a lot of finesse with deployment, and the pick 'em up into reserve strat, also valuing the second Lictor or third plus Death Leaper even more. This freed up a few points alongside swapping out the second Hormagon squad to include 2 strong Pyrovore squad. These Pyrovores have impressed me so much in both the League and Crusade, coming out of reserve or just walking up for space. They're surprisingly durable, forcing the opponent to commit bigger guns to them, and the Flamers deal with T3 and 4 very well. 70 points is a steal for what they've done. The last change was Winged Hive Tyrant, who has been an all-star in both reserve, deep strike, starting on the battlefield. Has a free rapid ingress, so that can do fun stuff, life free strat, pick up, and then bring him back in. Anyhow, looking forward to tuning the list further. There's been some very cool lists from the Tacoma Open. Yes, second place was Gene Silicate, right? I mean, Tyranids, tunneling Tyranids. It's definitely one of those things in vogue. I think tunnel Tyranids are very strong, and it is something that folks should be aware of, right? But we have the Sub-Assault. We have a Neuro Tyrant with a Tremor Senses, a Winged Hive Tyrant with Synaptic Strategy, 1 Death Leaper, a Hormigaunt Gargoyles, a Biovore, 2 Pyrovores, Lictor, Tyrannifex. By the way, I think the Tyrannifexes are key here. Psychophage, Screamer Killer, Morlock, Horuspex, Trigon. I love that you have the Morlocks, and you've got the Trigon that is upgraded to have the Trigon Prime. You have 1 Haruspex, which I think is very strong. And then, of course, the Screamer Killer to add some Battle Shock mechanics. So overall, I really like your list. It's got a little bit of everything. I do feel like one of the you've got Death Leaper, you've got like a decent amount of fights first. I'm a huge fan of the Von Ryans in this list. They're not necessarily super expensive, but I am a huge fan of Von Ryans. As for the Pyrovores in 2s, I would personally split them up into units of 1. But if you're having a lot of success with a double Pyrovore to get some extra damage, that's great. But I would love to have, ignore cover in 2 different spots, I guess, instead of in 1 spot. And, of course, you got your Neuro Tyrant, I guess, doesn't join anything, really. But, in an age of knights, I would take a look at some of the lists using Hive Guard. They are surprisingly good in this detachment. Durable, maneuverable, and sort of suited to destroy what is good in the meta right now, which is vehicles. I love the Trigon Prime, the Horuspex, and the 2 Morlocks. You keep those. The Psychophage is interesting. Since its update, I have seen people use it, but I haven't really played against it, so I don't really know the impact of what it can do. The Biovore is, of course, incredible. The Gargoyles are great. I do like the addition of the Hormigaunt, so it's like a cheaper Gargoyle unit, but it's good for that early game skirmish to just go and contest objectives or get in the way. I think that's not a bad idea to have either. As for having a Winged or Hive Tyrant or regular Hive Tyrant, I like having one of them for the CP and stuff like that, but I prefer the Foot Tyrant mainly because of its ability to give units around it assault. which then allows your Tyrannofexes to advance and shoot, or if you have Hive Guard, to advance and shoot with Hive Guard. So those are kind of like some of the key things that I would look at. Yeah, but other than that, it seems that you're enjoying the development of the list. And so far, this list looks very, like, a lot more tuned, right? So it has, you can tell that it's just trying to do something specific. And if it's working for you, that's fantastic. If you fly with sub-assault, is that snakes on a plane? Want to get those mother effing snakes off my mother effing plane. Which I think is hilarious. But thank you so much, Gentle Jin. Keep it up. I'm looking forward to seeing your updates as you continue to go. Moving on, Drazar says, it's fun. How would you make it more fun? Well, let's see. 10th edition Dark Arlie list. Reaper's Wager. Sir, a second plane has hit the list. Nice. 10 cabs with a Venom. Drazar with 10 Incubis and a Raider. That's just that unit hits like an absolute freight train. 5 Drakes. Archon with Arc Raider and a Venom with 5 Incubi. Of course, don't forget, the Archon doesn't necessarily have to go with the 5 Incubi. Can go with the 5 cabs, right? So be flexible with that Archon. I would much prefer him with the Cabalites, but that's kind of what I've been doing. So mixing and matching, important. Lilith, 10 Witches and a Venom. Yeah, makes sense. Ravager with 3 Lances. Bomber, 1 Solitaire. Shadowseer with the big brick of troops. Yes. So, Bomber, Solitaire, Shadowseer, good. I would definitely make sure. I don't think you need the 5 extra Incubi, to be honest, or that extra Venom. Really, I think Drazar with the big Incubi brick. Like, that's the one thing where I'm like, Like, look, it gives you the flexibility. You can put the Archon with the 10 Incubi and then give them Arc Raider. So in some matchups, you can be like, you know what? Drazar with 5 Incubi and a Venom. Archon with 10 Incubi and a Raider with Arc Raider. So I can just yeet them forward. Number 1. Number 2, you could put Drazar, 10 Incubi in Strat Reserve. Then put Incubi and 5 Incubi in Raider with the other 5 Cabalites in Raider and give them Arc Raider. So you get like the best of both worlds. And then you could have Lilith's other 5 witches go in the Venom that would be empty, right? So you have a lot of flexibility here. I like that. The double bomber. So, listen to this, folks. This is Archon Skari. And how would you make it more fun? By taking more planes. Also, you don't have a beast pack, which makes me sad. But you are running the double bomber. So, like, see, I would probably drop 1 bomber just for beast packs. But that's just me. Like, having at least 1 beast pack there. Like, you need 240 points for 2 beast packs. So I'd literally drop a plane, drop the 5 Incubi, right? So the Archon could go with the Cabalites. Then I would put in 5 more Mandrakes. That would give me 20 more points, which would give me the 2 beast packs, and then it would increase the troop unit to 12 strong. Because I think if you're doing the, I think I've thought about this, and I really liked it from the last time we did this. But the 12 troops with the Shadowseer make sure that your opponent can't discard Cull the Horde and has to try kill the Harlequins. I love that. I love being able to just be like, no, you stay, you keep that. If you're there on the board. So, like, as soon as they come down turn 2 or turn 3, you know, if your opponent draws Cull, if they draw it early, whatever. But if they draw it, you know. Can't find. Sorry, Josh from Mini Wargaming was messaging me. Just let him know. I'll call him as soon as my stream is done here. So that's kind of where I would go for. But here, I was in the middle of telling you that my fun list. So I'm going to the War Masters Challenge. Then I'm going to Then I'm going to, so War Masters Challenge, and then WTC. Then August 16th, I have nothing. Then August 23rd, I am very much thinking of going to the Capital City Bloodbath, right? So it's going to be a 60 and 80 person GT in Canada. And that used to be like the biggest event that I would go to every year. It's the first GT I ever won was the Capital City Bloodbath. But it's really funny because it's a small GT, so no matter what I do, it's not going to give me enough points to supplement any of my scores this season, which is really weird to think about. That I like, 80-person GT. It's like an RTT for me this season, aka practice. So you ready? And because I'm going to it on my own dime, and I don't have to worry about sponsorship for it. Check this out. The list that I probably want to take is called Be Plain With Me. Ha! Get it? Get it? Huh? Huh? Look at my eyebrows doing all the weird things because I get it. Are you ready for this? 2,000 points on the nose. Barring a couple of changes because I kind of want to try and add Lilith into it. Okay, but an Archon with Arc Raider. 2 Beastmasters. Urien Rakarth. Why? Because Urien Rakarth is a tank. I can't tell you how many games he's won me by himself because my opponent has to overcommit to him every single time. A unit of 10 Kabalite warriors with all the gubbins. 1 single Venom. 2 units of 5 Mandrakes. 2 Dark Lance Ravagers. 2 Razorwing Jet Fighters. 2 units of Scourge with Haywire Blasters. 2 Void Raven Bombers. That is 4 planes. That's right, 4 planes, 2 units of beasts, 1 unit of Cavalites. I feel like it doesn't have enough, but to be honest, the more I think about it, the more I think I drop the Scourge, to be honest. I drop the Scourge, and I drop like 1 unit of Mandrakes, and I add in Lilith, Witches, and another Venom, and I think that would be better. Just because I only have 1 Overwatch stratagem, deny Overwatch stratagem, which would have to go on Scourge, and 1 Haywire Scourge unit is fine. I've got so many Dark Lances in there. Anyway, that's going to be my 4 aircraft list, and I cannot wait to just bust it out and just be silly with it and play games, and the games will be over either really fast or really fast. So I don't have to worry too much about it. And then I don't care because I'm just having a good time. And it'll probably be a last hurrah before like the Codex comes out or whatever. Anyway, Drazar, there you go. I like the list. You know, that's a couple of things I'd think about. You know, so in that case, if you drop the Void Raven, you add 2 Beast Packs, you drop the 5 Incubi, put in another unit of Mandrakes, and then use the extra 15 points to basically buy 1 more troop model. So that goes up to the 13. I think that would be like a very balanced list. And I think the beast, even if it's just 1 beast pack, I think that would help. Just to kind of that creating that space is so important. Just being able to push and go. I don't care if these die. It just keeps you there, and they have the speed, and they can go through walls, and it's just so good. The U.S. Air Force and U.S. Navy have the first and second largest air forces in the world. I think Skari just took 3rd. I did. The Dark Eldar aircraft extravaganza is what it is. Moving on. Smoke and Hops. I was running a Void Raven Bomber with Dark Scythes. Now, you said I was running, so I instantly now start crying. But I felt I couldn't get enough utility out of it. Now I swapped it with 2 Ravagers and another Mandrake unit. Is this a better unit of better use of points? What else can I optimize with the list? So yes, having more units tends to be better. If you're playing Reaper's Wager, to be honest, the Void Raven Bomber isn't nearly as powerful as if you were running... I'm sorry, I don't mean powerful isn't the word. The Void Raven Bomber does a lot more damage in Reaper's Wager because it has access to lethal hits and sustained hits. And reroll 1s without pain tokens. So it's a very efficient aircraft. However, Sky Splinter gives it access to the 4-up invulnerable save, which, to be honest, when I was at Vegas, was clutch. Because you could pop it on, even if you had the 1 plane, your opponent would shoot at it, and that 4-up invul just kept it alive. And then your opponent had to dedicate a whole other shooting phase to try taking it down. However, in Reaper's Wager, when I took it to like Dallas, I loved the fact that if it didn't die, you could be like, I ignore Overwatch, and then you'd run it up into the middle of the opponent's army, and your opponent could Overwatch it. But it was like using a lot of resources, and it tended to die without really doing much. So taking it out in Reaper's Wager, I'm okay with. Now, in Reaper's Wager, doubling down with 2 Void Bombers, 2 Fighters, I think that's going to be key, but I don't know. Stay tuned for that. We shall see how key it becomes. Cool. So, Archon, Blastblade, Hustblade, Archon, Blastblade. Okay, so 2 Archons, Drazar, Lilith. So you have 0 enhancements. That's one thing where I'm like, okay, you're not running a single enhancement. Arc Raider is a fantastic enhancement. If you could find the 15 points for that, I highly recommend it. Cabs, so 2 big bricks of cabs. Good, lots of racks, witches. Yep, that makes sense. Good mix of stuff there. Raider, Venom. So that's right here. I've way too many, in my opinion. Like that's where you could save points, right? All in here. That's where I'd save points. I don't like Raiders in Reaper's Wager, but they're kind of handy. It's okay to have a bunch of 5-strong models on foot. So like Cabs split with a Venom, so that's 1 Venom. Cabs split with Venom, Witches split with a Venom. So 3 splits, you can get rid of this Venom, for example. Don't need it. As for the Raider, if you have a big brick of Incubi, no, you just have little units of Incubi. So like, you could just get rid of both of these Raiders and keep that Venom, and then add another Venom. Add another Venom, drop this Raider, and that gives you 85 points, which then you could use for an Arc Raider enhancement. That's 15, so that gives you 70 points, right? So with 70 points, you could add in another Mandrake unit, Reaver Jet Bikes, another Rack unit. Like, there's a lot of stuff you could do with that. And also, Venoms are way easier to hide. There is a reason why when Games Workshop picks violence, which is something like Layout 2 on Crucible of Battle, or Layout 3 on Sweeping Engagement, right, then I can hide my army. It's because I have Venoms. If I had Raiders, I've got 1 Ravager. That's like a huge footprint. It's hard to hide. So Venoms keep you hidden. Incubi, Drakes. Oh, 3 Drakes. Cool. I don't think you need 3 Drakes. I think there's a lot of things you could trim, like the 3rd Drake, those points could be a Beast Pack. There's a whole bunch of things. It could be Double Ravager. Love that. Scourge. I would highly recommend a Scourge with Haywire in the current meta. Haywire is so good in the current meta. It is just excellent. And with sustained hits, I've had 1 Scourge activation do 30 dev wounds to a tank. 30 dev wounds. With sustained hits, the average is like 18, I find. 16, no, it's 15 to 18 on average. But sometimes they do 3. Yeah, you'll be like, yes, I got 10 hits with Haywire. Ha ha ha. You roll 1-4. No! It makes me so sad when that happens. And then a couple of Talus. Now, you do have Haywire on the Talus. Excellent. Talus are great. But there's some wiggle room for like tweaking it a little bit. I think the 3rd unit of Mandrakes, the 2nd Raider, there's like, those are points you can kind of spend on something else. You do have a Kronos, which is good. You don't really have a Beast Pack or something that can move block. So if you don't have a Beast Pack, I highly recommend a couple of Grotesque units, because you can kind of throw them into the middle of the enemy. They have Flamers. They fight on death, so they're really good if somebody charges them. They can kind of punch them back and do a little bit of damage. They're really good in like that early skirmishing part of the game. I feel there's wiggle room with some points. Very fun list, don't get me wrong, but there's a little bit of extra things, the trimmings. You could kind of snip off the trimmings and tighten it down, and you wouldn't miss the trimmings, if that makes sense, but you'd get to add other things that help you in the game. Gentle Jin says, darn, had to go to the bathroom. By the way, Scary, the reason for 2 Pyrovores, not 1+1, is that they get cheaper if they're together. So it's 10 points saved. Okay, fair enough. You know, Gentle Jin, reasoning makes sense. And it's since you're playing like 2,000 points on the nose, right? Like if you did that, you'd kind of lose the Hormagaunts, and you don't want to lose the Hormagaunts, right? So Hormagaunts are good. Like overall, the list looks great. You know, there's some tweaking, but it seems like you have a good dynamic going. And if it works for your meta, then it works for your meta. Zinth asks, how are you on Talos in Reaper's Wager? I've only played a couple of games with them, but they've felt good. I love Talos. Absolutely love Talos. I think Talos are one of the best units in our index. The biggest issue I have with Talos isn't the Talos or the detachment. It's the current meta. 2 units of Talos, 320 points, right? So a chunk of points. Now, you get combat, you get shooting. But the meta right now is one that is designed to hunt knights. Which means most armies out there can kill Talos now. And that is the only reason why I've kind of moved away from Talos. Number one, there are a lot of points. So once I've put 240 points of my army in 2 beast packs, like that's like 300 points, like, you know, 250 points, which is like 2.5 Talos units. So like I'm making that decision of going for more like early game pressure and like the different style of unit, which is speed, lots of wounds, but sacrificial, than a sort of like mid to late game unit like the Talos, which is designed to sort of leverage the late game, right? The mid to late game and really kind of bully the middle of the board in that time. Now, I use things like Drazar, Lilith, you know, in that role, right? I use Drazar, Lilith in that role, and the Hellions is like a sort of support unit in that case. Now, is there, like, if you wanted to kind of play with Talos, the easiest take out and put in would be like the Solitaire and the, you take the Solitaire out, you take the Hellions out, you put a unit of, it's 365 points. No, 265 points. So you put in like a Talos unit and then like a second Ravager, right? And that kind of like fills in those gaps. You've got like 5 points left over, you kind of spend on something, or you've got a, you know, so there's like, you've got wiggle room. But I like the Talos. The advance, shoot and charge on Talos is fantastic. Sustained hits is very, very good when you have twin linked Haywire, because then the whole like, oh no, I only rolled 1-4 doesn't really come up very often. You know, it's more consistent with twin linked Haywire, of course. And then they punch. They have 3 damage attacks, which means they hurt like Terminators and like things like that. And then with lethals in close combat, they can actually use their strength 8 3 damage attacks into vehicles and monsters a lot more efficiently, right? So, yeah, it's just like, you know, it's just food for thought. I don't think they're bad. I just think that the way that I'm playing my army right now, they just don't have a place based on what I need my army to do in the meta, right? But Talos are great. They're still very good. Gentle Jin says, you joke about snakes on the plane, but I've got snake-winged tyrant conversions happening. Nice. That looks really cool. I mean, I'm sure it looks really, really cool. Moving on, AJ Omega says, hey, Scary, it's your boy, AJ. What's going on, AJ? This is a list my friend and I composed to try and eat this meta of Knights and Death Guard. What do you think? Any changes you'd make? Thanks, Zinth. Yeah, no problem, Zinth. All ass, no breaks. Amazing. You've got 10 points to spare. Number 1. So, that's the one thing. I feel like a list can be refined until it is on the nose. Sororitas, Bringers of Flame. Love that detachment. Very good detachment. Morven Vol. She is so stupidly good with her suits. So I'm not going to have any comment. Palatine with the Iron Suspicious. Yes. Palatine, great. So double Palatine. I think you can go Palatine. See, the second Palatine, that's like, I'm like, sure. Like, if anything, I'd try to get Judith in there for the extra command point. Or I would put in something else. I don't know. I don't think you need the extra Palatine. 1 unit of Battle Sisters with Melta, Multi-Melta, yeah, all the good stuff in there. 1 Immolator with twin Multi-Melta Hunter Killer, another Immolator with twin Multi-Melta Hunter Killer, third Immolator, so triple Immolator. I love the Immolators. I think they're fantastic. I would always try put an Immolator in with a Flamer. Just 1 Immolator with a Flamer, just to have the option to overwatch some filthy elves or Genestealer Cult or orcs. Like, there is a thing where if you fine tune for the meta too much, the rest of the meta will eat you alive. So if you come to the game with all last cannons and melta guns and then run into the one guy that's been running horde orcs or horde tyrannids for 8 months and you go, oh, I don't have enough bullets, you sometimes wish you had that like extra flamer. Hey Raymond, what's going on? Happy Friday, my dude, to you as well. So love the Immolators, love the sisters. Now, I know this is probably a little bit oh, you did, yay! Look at that. You brought novitiates. Haha, I was gonna say, I hope you brought novitiates. You have just won a little medal, because if you have access to infiltrate in this meta, bring infiltrate. Bring something that infiltrates. It will, like, I learnt this lesson in practice when I won the roll for deployment against Death Guard in practice. Good thing I did it in practice. And I won the roll off, and I said, you go first. And the first thing they did was put a line of Poxwalkers right in front of my deployment zone. And I went, I made a mistake. Now I know that I only need 1 Mandrake unit to do things. The second Mandrake unit gets saluted for their sacrifice and gets placed where I want my scouts to go. And that's kind of what I learned from that, is don't let the Poxwalkers stop you from scouting. So anything with infiltrate is insanely good. Gore Chosen, in novitiates, Genestealers, like anything that has infiltrate, lictors, whatever, like having something that can just move block and just create space, even if you have to sacrifice them for their sacrifice, it's good. Gentlejin says, yeah, it's the same in any competitive game. When you play a tuned whatever, you still need to win the random games matchups, learning that in Magic the Gathering. And it is one of the most important elements of playing competitive Warhammer. Like, I don't consider myself the most knowledgeable Warhammer player in terms of the meta or whatever. But what I do know what to do is play good Warhammer. And one of the things that helps me play good Warhammer is understanding that I can play against anything. I think, like, this Tacoma run was the best example of what I could have hoped for. Like, my list is designed to beat knights, and I lost against knights, which is really funny. But the mission was Purge, and my opponent played it, like, so well. He didn't play the game for 3 turns and forced me to do something about it, because if I kept too passive, he was just going to win the game. And he played it, he leveraged the table setup, he leveraged his deployment. Anyway, it was fantastically played by my opponent. I'm going to make sure I never get in that position again. I learned a lot from that game. So next time, that's not going to happen. But, where was I going? Yes, you need to be able to win your games. You could fine-tune your list, but you know what the most dangerous game is at any event that you go to? The most dangerous game is game number 1. Why is that the most dangerous game? Because you can literally play against anyone, right? Unless you're in the same team, in which case BCP doesn't let you play against your same teammates. But that is, so get round 1, round 2, but round 1 especially, the most dangerous, because you could have someone who is just going for a laugh, and they bring the most meme list you've ever seen. They're like, you know what? I'm going to play this meme list of 3 Lords of Skulls and 3, Corn Hell Brutes and, 1 unit of Jackals in the back corner and a Demon Prince. And all they do is they bring like the stupidest meme list they can think of. And you're like here going, okay, I'm gonna, looking at the meta. Okay, there's like 120 Gene Stealer Cult Neophytes, and there's Horde Orcs and Horde Tyranids and all this stuff. So you're like, yeah, I'm gonna stock up on all my Flamers and Heavy Bolters. Yeah, fuck the meta. And then you go round 1, 3 Lords of Skulls and 3 Hellbrutes and a Demon Prince, and you're like, shit. Or you play into that one orc player that brought 18 killer cans or 24 killer cans or something. And they're just like, killer cans everywhere. And you're like, oh my god, how do I kill all these killer cans, And so it's so important to learn how to play good Warhammer and bring a list that can kind of deal with anything. And you will be, and just learn how to play good Warhammer instead of leveraging just meta shit, right? Anyway, so bring Infiltrate if you have Infiltrate. It's a long-winded way of saying that. Seraphim with Flamers, Seraphim with Flamers, Seraphim with Flamers. Triple Seraphim. I think you can get away with just 2 units. I don't think you need 3. But, Retributor Squad with Multi-Meltars. Retributor Squad Multi-Meltars for sure. I don't think you need... Wait, did you... Oh, you do have Paragon Warsuits. This here. I think you can drop one of them, and you can drop a Seraphim Squad, to be honest, personally. You have 3 Castigators. I would try and add in one of the fast attack units, the Dominions. I know they're a little bit more expensive, but if you drop a Retributor, drop a Seraphim Squad, add in a Dominion Squad with like Meltaguns or Flamers, I think that would be really useful for like what you're trying to do with this list. And I would try and add in 1 Exorcist. So even if you drop like the 1 little Palatine, shuffle around, I try and put in at least 1 Exorcist, just to have access to that out-of-line of sight shooting. With Miracle Dice, one of the best things that you can have access to. It supplements the immolators. Like, we took 3 Exorcists in our WTC team because it hyper focuses it, but in a teams event you can hyper focus what you want your list to do. But having just something that can sit in the back corner, shoot pretty much anything they want out of line of sight, threaten like the little units they're trying to hide, characters that aren't lone ups, right? Like you're going to be seeing a lot of like navigators and things like that like do have 12-inch denial bubbles, like things like just. And then having Vol and Paragons, some Retributors potentially. Like I love the Vol and Paragons. The Retributors are okay. And then having like a Dominions for some extra scout and move up the board. Infiltrate unit to go and infiltrate. Sisters of Battle to sticky objectives. Like I think you have a very good mix of stuff. Castigators to do main damage. And so is Paragon Vol. And then just having something in the back that can screen the back, shoot out of line of sight. Like, that would be like mint. Got Mechanized Guard at Biosantic and Biosantic GSC at Tacoma, but my list was take all comers, says Orcspit. Yeah, exactly. Like you build a little everything. You focus, like if you hyper focus too much, you hyper focus too much, and yeah, exactly. And then you get a variety of different things. It's like 2 different ends of the spectrum. Mechanized Guard, all tanks. Biosantic GSC, which is hyper aggressive, infiltrating infantry in your face, right? Or like a couple of vehicles, but mainly infantry that's like very aggressive. But if you built a list that's take all comers, you have elements that can kind of deal with everything. And that's so important in a competitive environment. But I hope that gives you some food for thought, AJ. I'll be keeping track of how you develop this list. I know you want to really focus on Sisters. They're a very rewarding army to learn how to play well. And everybody loves an army that doesn't require dice rolling. Okay, so moving on. We're starting to run out of time here, so I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more lists, 5 more lists. Okay, so 5 more lists. We'll have like 4 minutes each. Say 3 minutes each. So my apologies for speeding this up a little bit here. Carl says, we have a 5-man teams coming up next weekend, and I'm supposed to play into heavies and occasional better players to take points. This is what I've gotten to. I was on Sky Splinter, but I might switch to Reapers. Here's the list, open to suggestions. Other team members are Eldari, Death Guard, Space Marines, Dark Angels, and Necrons. Okay, so you have a good amount of... So Eldari is a good clogger, Death Guard is a good attacker and or defender, Space Marine DA is a good defender and or attacker, Necrons are a good clogger / defender, depending on what Necron style. But you got some versatility, which means you can kind of focus your list a little bit. So, double Ravager, double Haywire, 1 Dark Lance, double Mandrake, Chronos, 10 Hellions, Incubi, 3 Venoms, 10 Witches, 10 Cabs, 2 Beast Markers, 1 with Conductor because you had spare points, Uri and Drazar, Archon, and Lilith. You're not taking a Solitaire, of course. Therefore, you had a little bit extra points. This is very similar to my list. It is very good. I love the double Ravager, personally, and the double Haywire and the Dark Lance Scourge. It's super focused, and I'll tell you right now that leveraging the fact that you have 10 Hellions will give you the flexibility you need against different matchups. I don't have any comments on this. This list, I know, is good. I know this list will win games. The key is to know when to deep strike Haywire. So you always deep strike 1 Haywire Scourge. Against Hammer Death Guard, you deep strike all your Scourge, usually. Against everything else, you tend to deploy everything. Right? Except for 1 Haywire Scourge. 1 Haywire Scourge always deep strikes. Just so that on the turn you need to focus your fire, it can deep strike and help focus the fire on the thing you need to focus on. But other than that, Carl, I have 0 comments on this. This list will work for you. Just get practice. Practice this list. Play it. Get used to it. Play it. You don't have the 5 racks, but you should be fine. Yeah, no comment. And then you got Conductor. So I would very rarely use Conductor, you know. But if you ever like really need to go turn, you're like, you know what, 1 pain token, you have a couple extra, maybe you sent Drazar to go viciously execute someone to get some extra pain tokens to have a push turn. So you can burn 1 until you kill the thing you need to kill. You get reroll 1s to wound against it, just to make yourself a little bit more efficient in the knights and stuff. I could see that happening. But all of that, other than that, Carl, I approve. It gets my seal of approval. Moving on. Hi says, hi Scary. Hello. I haven't heard you give insights on Custodes. Brinjar and Ryan and I have been working on Custodes for years. So I love Custodes. They're so fun. I figured I would provide one of my own that I've been working on. No real advanced plans, except perhaps using it in a league. Oh, cool. Plan is to run the Blade Champs with Wardens, Draxus with one of the guards, Alaris Captain with 2 men, Captain on Dawn Eagle is Nuisance and Action Monkey. So you're running Lions, which then tends to be the most popular detachment right now. Double Blade Champion, Shield Captain Alaris, Shield Captain Dawn Eagle Jetbike. So I'll tell you right now, I don't think you need 2 Blade Champions. I think you can go for 1. And I don't think you need 2 Wardens. I think you can keep with 1. And I don't think you need 2 Guards. I think you can keep with 1. And all those extra points, I would honestly look at Caladius Grav Tanks. They are insane. Hello, Michael. What's going on? They are very good. Caladius Grav Tanks and one of my favorite units, which are Venatari. Venatari are good. The free rapid ingress is excellent, and they move faster than your average Custodes. So very useful into the current meta. I do like the Alaris Captain with the Alaris Custodians. But I would definitely make that unit a 5-man brick. I would just double down. Make it a hammer. Like something that you could just shove in your opponent's face and make them pay. 5 Prosecutors, 4 Witch Seekers, I love. I would, if you have any extra points, I would put a Rhino in there for them. And I love Inquisitor Draxus. She's very good with guard. Very, very killy with guard. So I really like that. But that's my food for thought. I think Custodes are much better when you have Caladius Grav Tanks. If you're taking the Dawn Eagle Jet Bike, I would try and put in at least a small unit of jet bikes with him. If you're running one Caladius, I would give rocket launchers to the bikes to make sure you have two sort of like anti-tank units or anti-tank units. And like that, you can kind of, you know, modify it as well. I know, and then of course, if you got lions, then you know having the what is it, Lone Up on the Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle, that works really well if you're just running him solo. But just kind of some food for thought. Wardens are great, but I wouldn't. I feel Custodes players rely too much on their wardens, and I think having a warden unit is not a bad idea. But I do like if you use those points elsewhere, it really does help. That's like my food for thought. Yeah, I think you can kind of like go a little wider with the list if you're trying to do a more competitive style build. Not that this build is bad. Some armies just can't deal with Custodes. But if you wanted to make it a more standardized list that can deal with more things, that's what I'd recommend. And I look forward to seeing how your league does. So make sure you keep me posted on that as well. Moving on. Archon Morsan. All bets are off. 1,000-point Reaper's wager without Harlequins. Nice. All bets are off. Archon, you were in. Or Cabalites. Double Venom. Kronos. Incubi, I'm assuming 5. Grots, Mandrakes, Reavers. 2 Talos. Our small group is about to play a 1,000-point campaign where each player plays 2 factions. One player is Grey Knight Tyranids, other is Demon's Guard. Not sure as to what my second faction may be, Craftworld, Eldar, or Orcs. I would go Orcs. Just do Orcs because it's fun. Morsan. And I love your 1,000-point list. That's a fantastic 1,000-point list. You could even drop a Venom, I think, and put in something else. Like, you know, double up on the Reavers. Make the Reaver unit a big hammer unit. Yeah. Or try and give Arc Raider to your Archon. That's what I would say. Boom. Turkey done. Yeah, don't really need to elaborate on that. I like it. It's good. I like the Talos. I like the Reavers. I like the Mandrakes. Got the Grots, the Incubi. Oh, I guess the Incubi go into Venom, so you're fine. You've got the Cabalites that split. You got Action Monkeys. You got Durability. You've got Fighty. You got Shooty. Love this 1,000-point list. Yeah, very good 1,000-point list. Moving on, we have Zinth. And I vote for Orcs for your second faction. Shadow Legion plus Knight. So Shadow Legion plus Knight, we've got Be'lakor, good. Bloodthirster with Fade to Darkness. Great Unclean One with Leaping Shadows. The Scout, Great Unclean One, makes me giggle every time. Because I can't but not think that he's just like, anyway, whatever, just like running around being a little roly-poly. He's a roly-poly. Modifications to my list, I went 1 to 2 with losing to 7 Tank Guard and Chaos Knight. So I genuinely loved my scouting ACDC brick, but this is an idea I had for getting some solid shooting into the list. Havocs have perpetually disappointed me, so they're not qualified as legitimate shooting platforms. It's very much like a Ravager. They either do it or they don't. I also dig the flavor representing House Korvax, the Infernal Knight House sworn to Be'lakor in the lore. Nice. Rolling Great Unclean One. I know, the roly-poly Great Unclean One. He does the roly-poly. He's like, oh, and he roly-polies. And he's like, ha, I'm now closer. I just see him like just waddling along. Just in my mind's eye. A Great Unclean One waddling along, tripping on like a rock or something, or a Nurgling that gets in the way and trips him because he thinks it's hilarious. And then he like, and then he like falls over and he like rolls over and then gets back on his feet because he's like perfectly round. And his like little feet kind of, and then he's like just that far forward from the deployment zone. So I don't think it's like anything strategic. It's just comedy. That's how I feel that guy gets to scout. Pure, unadulterated comedy. I love the Raptors. We talked about that earlier for the Battle Shock test. I love the Legionnaires. The Knight Despoiler is excellent. Double Gatling Cannon. Flamer, the Spear. Yeah. So having Knights, I think, is a good idea. They're so cheap right now. Excellent for what you get. Occultist Mode for Sticky. The Chaos Lord that goes with Legionnaire to go punch things. All in all, fantastic use of this. I think the Despoiler does really help you. You could probably, if you really want anti-tank, though, I'd probably go with the double Melta Cannons. I think that's, like, very good. The Gatling Cannons are great, but you have enough anti-infantry. A lot of, like, when I played Justin, who's playing Chaos Knights on stream, like, his main anti-tank was the Tzeentch Lord of Change that had like the enhancement for the extra strength or whatever. That was like his main like anti-crack open rhinos and stuff. With a line of slime behind him, exactly like a big caterpillar, not a caterpillar, a slug. They just leave like the trail of slug slime. Yeah, gross. Fleshhounds, I'll be down 8. Nurglings, 6 of them. I don't think you need 6. Yeah, but sure. 6 is very annoying. They're very hard to kill, and because you're in demons, they come back to life. If they're battle line, I think. Is that right? And then you got the 3 big ones. You know, I think you're lacking still in like units to do actions with. Like the raptors kind of have to do that on the nose. Like they're super important. And I love that you add in these warp talons. I love warp talons. I love them. The Fade Thirster and warp talons are 2 of the stupidest things you can have in a list. They move very fast. They kill the screens and skirmish units, and then they are one of the non-interactivity style units, which I love, but opponents find very frustrating. So double down on that shit. I love it. Yeah. And I love the use of the Night Despoiler. Just I would, if you're going for like anti-vehicle, anti-tank, like don't ever just think that the Bloodthirster will pop one, right? Because he might not. So maybe double melta cannons on him. And that's like the only thing where they like, maybe that's better if for what you want it to do. Because you can kill infantry with the other stuff you have, like Bellicor shooting and combat and stuff like that. I just feel like you've got it's a lot of points in like 4 big models, which is kind of how you're playing demons. Like you have to leverage what they do so effectively and try keep all your little crap alive, because the little crap is going to score you all the points. And I really liked, actually, my demon opponent played a unit of Seekers, like the little Slanesh demonettes on horseback. Those are very useful. Yeah, those are very, very useful. Okay, and moving on to the last list of the day, we have Brimstone with his orc. Says, hello, Mr. Scary. Hello, Mr. Brimstone. Here is my current competitive orc list. Now, we talked about this. Stick with orcs if you want to get better. Just play with it. I know if you're having fun with it, just don't switch it. Don't switch it up. Play with it. And if you want to collect something else on the side, do so. But don't stress about it. Just focus on getting better with what you have. That doesn't mean don't buy stuff, don't collect other things, but like, if you want to improve, just stick to one thing. And it's going to be boring, and it's going to be a drag sometimes, but you will get better. It's the one we discussed and built together. I've played a few games with it, and I have really enjoyed how it plays. Yeah, we talked about this. We talked about putting in elements that give you a little bit of everything. We talked about focusing on the detachment rule. We talked about, so I'm glad that you're enjoying how it plays, right? That's important. If you have any suggestions on what to drop or add, I greatly appreciate your advice. Now, if you've had a couple of games, that's great. One of the things that I coach people on, and I discuss, and I recommend, is when you're tweaking a list or developing a list, you build a list concept. You play it. Like normally, because of my experience, I can deploy an army, play 1 turn or 2 turns with an army, and instantly understand whether I'm going to vibe with the play style of the list. And I'll go, even during deployment, I'll deploy an army and go, this doesn't feel right. Like, and my instinct will tell me this deployment alone, there's like either too many units or not enough units, or they're just awkwardly, I have to place them awkwardly. I'm like, I don't like it. It's just a feeling I get, but that's just from experience. Anyway, Zinth says, yeah, it hurts taking chaff out for big stuff. I'm torn, but I'll give the Melta a try. You should, Zinth. Yeah, that's right. Try the Melta. So, and then if you deploy the army, play 1 or 2 games, and it's like, okay, I vibe with this, then you want to play about 5 to 6 games, and then find a unit that is either not getting used all the time, or one that's like very matchup dependent, and be like, do I really need this one specific thing, enhancement unit, and then what else would you put in instead, right? So, competitive war, it's a war horde. I think that's a very good detachment. So, Squigosaur boss, Gazgul, double war boss, Weird Boy, and a Zoggrod. Good characters, right? We got 10 boys for sticky objectives, 2 trucks. If you're playing on WTC, I would not use the Wrecking Ball. So you can hide in the staging areas without sticking out the windows at the top. A lot of people don't take the Wrecking Balls in competitive orc lists because it makes the profile of the orc truck smaller, so you can tuck it in under walls and stuff. So something to keep in mind. Breaker Boys. It's like a modeling thing. You wouldn't think about it because it's free. You're like, why wouldn't I take a Wrecking Ball? But if you want to tuck a truck, not Tonka truck, tuck a truck in the corner of a building and not have it stick over the edge where people can see it over the window or over the floor, right? You want to tuck it in so that you can really use it to stage and get out and use that distance. Then taking the Wrecking Balls off is a good thing. It's like a minor thing, but it's one of those micro efficiency things that people don't think about usually until you've played with it. So double Breaker Boys, hopefully to go with the War Bosses. You got 20 Gretchen to go with Zogrod, one of my favorite units. 10 Gretchen to stick on your home, screen the backboard, and get you CP. 10 Commandos. Infiltrate. We talked about it, right? Have Infiltrate in your list. Create space in the midboard. Like, just stop your opponent, especially because Zogrod has Scout. You can get the Gretchen to be the jail, right? Scout and jail them. 2 units of 5 looters. They go in the trucks with the Breaker Boys, and they're like little. They harass things on objectives. They basically go score points, etc. 2 Meganobs to go with Gazgul on foot. They can use the Here We Go lads to move really quickly, and then on the war turn they can advance and charge, and they're very, very nasty. Squighog Boys with the Knob to go with either Beast Boss or to go by themselves, and they've also got a couple more Squig Bombs. 2 units of 5 Storm Boys for Deep Strike and all that stuff, and then a unit of Tank Busters with rocket pistols for some rapid ingress anti-tank. I love this list. This list is good. I think this list is good. Like the Weird Boy with the Ed Banger, like the one place where I'd be like, ah. But you put the Weird Boy in with the boys, and then they can teleport around, and that gives you uppy downy, which I think is very useful for sticking objectives and stuff, and screening and filling up spots and kind of harassing the opponent. So I like this list. I think this list is tuned. I think you just need to play it. I wouldn't change anything. You've got anti-tank, anti-infantry, you've got board control, you've got objective scoring, you've got punching, you've got shooting, you've got speed, maneuverability, MSU, as well as hammer, durability. Like, this list is a good orc list. I'm picturing 2 orcs arguing about truck upgrades. Look, in orc fashion, there's never enough orc upgrades. Well, with that, folks, it is the end of the show. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I love you all. You're all amazing. I will catch you on the flip side. The last show of the season will be next Friday, just before I go out to the WTC in Austria. So stay tuned for that. I'll be doing more stuff. You're all amazing. Keep in touch. If you want to participate, of course, there are 2 threads I put up early in the week when there's a show. Episode 34 will be next week, the last show of Season 3, and then I'll be taking a few weeks off. But other than that, I've been Skari, your grateful cult host, and you have all been the denizens. Thank you so much for hanging out. You're all amazing. Skari out. The dark akin. Have a great weekend, everybody.